Why, what's this? Fading in from the mists? I do believe it's a Persona episode. Why, such a thing only happens once every 100 years. And this one is... I think it's the start of the game. I don't want to make any sort of declarations just yet, but... this gameplay didn't seem to be on rails. I was actually, like, working my way through here, doing real battles. Eventually, I just had to turn back because it was getting too difficult. I did start on hard mode, after all. Even had the ability to do a confidant in this episode, I think. Social link. Kizuna, as they say in Japanese. But I decided not to because I wanted to continue on with some of that juicy, juicy dungeon crawling. It feels good to be back. And I could have started from the safe room, I know, but I wanted to check around for a little bit more treasures, and specifically check in this door here. See if fake Anne happened to drop any sort of loot. Unfortunately, no dice. Can't say I'm really surprised, but still, it was worth checking. It's not like I was too far away from the safe room from the start anyway. Oh yes, and also that one statue on the left there that was broken is repaired. Does that have any bearing on the plot, or any bearing on anything? No, but it was something I observed regardless. So, I have, of course, been talking about trying to get to the gameplay for all 13 previous episodes, but now that I'm here, I'm going to be pretty much skipping through every one of the battles. Hey, the battles are... I appreciate what the Persona development team did for them. They're very flashy, they're very fun. They go fairly quickly. It's just... I just don't think they're very good for videos, so... Especially since ultimately a lot of the battles just come down to exploit weaknesses over and over and then all-out attack. So, I'll still be showing if I get a Persona from one of these battles, but I'm not going to be showing the entire thing every single time. Many, many fights I'm going to be going through, after all. And oh yes, I have been using the third eye mechanic to also get a couple items at the very start here. I was corrected. I thought it was like side eye or something. It's third eye. Sado eye. Third eye. Yep, whoops, my bad. So right now we got a Jack-o'-lantern and Incubus as a couple of the new characters here. The old mainstays of the series. You can tell it's an Incubus because of its incredibly huge codpiece. That's that good old-fashioned Kaneko art, where that dude was not afraid of getting a little bit lewd with some of his designs. Oh yes, Anna's never actually seen one of the safe rooms yet. A gap in the cognition. I am actually trying to do my own translations of this, and I'm halfway decent at it. But I mean, I remember when I said, yeah, it's a gap in the cognition, I'm like, that's gotta be a too literal. No, that's actually what it was like in the official translation too. So there we are. I'm gonna keep trying to do that because I still do want to do some stuff with the Royal, the remake version of this game when it comes out. And but I need far more experience when it comes to looking at translation work if I'm going to be doing that without the training wheels that is the official English translation right now. Oh yes, also, and come on. This is not that difficult. It's literally called a safe room. It's... The meaning is in the name that we give this thing, after all. Gotta rotate them saves. And start to finally get rid of a couple of the old, incredibly old save files I did when I was originally kind of screwing around with this game and how exactly I was going to do with all the translation, subtitling bits of it in the first place. So the third option there is actually just saying heal. In the English version, I didn't buy any of the safe room full party heal items, so that one didn't appear in that translation. But I mean, that's pretty much all it does. Very useful for something like hard mode, where healing becomes a lot more of an issue. Enemies hit a lot harder, and you hit them less hard, which is why exploiting the whole weakness mechanic is so important. And really, for the most part, this is kind of the same sort of battle system that you've seen in all the other Persona games. Digital Devil Saga, if you ever played that, or... what, I think even back in Nocturne, that was where they originally introduced it, the press turn system. And this is just another sort of variation on that, where hitting weaknesses or passing turns can give you, like, partial turns, which the second party member can use. But if they pass, then you lose it. That sort of thing. It's a neat way of going about doing a turn-based game, but ultimately it does kind of turn to the same sort of execute an algorithm, whatever. You hit weakness over and over, all-out attack. Bingo, bango, you're done. I mean, even something like negotiation is kind of a different way to attempt doing a turn-based battle, but you do eventually get to the point where it's like, hey, this demon has this personality. They're going to want you to approach them like this. And you will do that and get whatever you're desiring, whether it's having the demon join your team or getting a magic stone or something. Magic stones. They've been in the game. They've been in like every single game thus far. Heals 30%, even all the way back in the OG Megami Tensei. Someday I might actually play that. I do have completely legitimate versions, wink wink, of... Oh, come on! Anyway, there's a nice splash screen at least. I do have completely legitimate versions of the original 2 NES games. In Japanese, of course. I don't know. It might be worth doing something on the channel, especially after I get a little bit better at doing my own sort of translation stuff here. We'll see. Boy, things are broken down like crazy. Also, I do enjoy the just ridiculous bloom coming through the windows there. It's like, how does that even work? My eyes aren't cameras. How come I'm getting that sort of light distortion effect in front of the windows there? I mean, I guess, yes, cognition, it's all fake, it's all sort of representational and all that, but still, it's very silly. Anyway, this is another mechanic that I learned all the way back in the original tutorial, the episode 1 tutorial, but at the same time, I guess even if you were playing this game normally, it would be more than a few hours until you got to this point. Anyway, yeah. Sneaking around in cover. It's completely comprehensive and very fast, snappy. Because a lot of the stuff is very fast and snappy to the point that it might be a little bit squirrely, as I've described it before. You know, despite the fact that there is the whole uncovery or discovery mechanic, where eventually on not getting an ambush against enemies enough, you are just going to be automatically kicked out of the dungeon. So far, it doesn't seem like it's a real big deal. I'm betting that that's probably a result of this being the first dungeon in the game, but we'll see. Oh yeah, I've been looking in some of those items that you break open with Third Eye. Well, that you find with Third Eye and then break open. There are some of them that you can still break open that don't show up on Third Eye, but they don't contain any items. It's kind of the entire point of the whole ability. And I guess they explode into a shower of rose petals, and they seem to just be filled with rose petals. I don't really know what to make of that. Anyway, yeah, this is... It's not observation skills, it's observation skill. It's called Third Eye. Have I told you about Igor? Because he just gave that to me last time I saw him. Hey, you guys been talking to Igor too? That's actually something that I'd be a little bit curious about. Of course, the protagonists are more concerned about just like, hey, get me out of this crazy limousine that you're carting me around in, than actually figuring out the mystery of what is happening in the Velvet Room. Oh, come on. There were gigantic, like, chains with rings on them. This didn't really take a genius to figure out, even if I didn't have supernatural abilities to sense stuff. Ryuji, come on. Yes, thank you, Morgana, for backing me up here. I mean, I know that these guys are new at this, but there's a point where it's like, you know, we're just kind of fumbling around in this palace, not knowing what we're actually doing. And in what sort of reality do you think a map would not be one of the most useful things that you could possibly find here? And not even just for thievery, just for anything. Anything at all. This might be a decently sized dungeon, because there is quite a bit of palace actually mapped out on this map, and apparently there's more even despite that. I haven't seen it just yet, because there is another mini-boss coming up, and I wasn't really prepared to fight that at the point that I got to them. Boy, that Metal Gear guard AI is always a sight to behold. Of course, then, I I suppose, to be fair, I immediately tried to hide behind a rose bush, which does not work, so... Takes one to know one, I guess. Many, many fights. Needless to say that this video would have been much longer if I decided to keep all of those in there, but really, like I said, there's only so much to say about I took out the persona with their weakness on it, and then hit them with it. Yeah, I'm gonna miss a little bit of that, of the good theme that they... yeah, there's still that guy. Glowing with sexual energy. Don't want to mess around with him just yet. Of course, there's not even an ability to. I have tried to go through that door at the very start, it just doesn't let you. I guess because it's so flagrantly the wrong decision to make. I think pretty soon here, you do also get the ability to assess, like, enemies' difficulty, and when you can do that even before you can get the difficulty, there's something to be said about why you wouldn't want to mess around with him. Well, yeah, obviously. Well, anyway, none of this really matters because I'm just going to be going right back up on the roof. I mean, this game doesn't have dynamic dialogue when it realizes that you've already figured out something after all. Boy, howdy does it not. Anyway, I do think I am probably going to be spending a lot of time up on the ceiling of places when it comes to Persona 5. It happened all the way back in the intro palace in episode 1 of the series here. It's happening now. It's overall a very thievery thing to do, you know, skulking around the rafters, plotting out your objective and everything like that. Tom Sawyer watching his own funeral style. However, I do think that it's also done just to show how different the dungeons are from what they used to be back in Persona 3 and 4. Because I remember Persona 3, it was a procedurally generated dungeons, and they were all pretty much straight hallways that, you know, occasionally had a corner in them, and that's it. Some neat art design and everything, but nothing special. They were very boring, let's say that. Persona 4, a little bit better, but not, like, amazing. Persona 5 here has a lot of very carefully crafted rooms, and it feels a lot more natural. And as opposed to Persona 3 and 4, it actually has, like, traveling along the Z-axis. It's not just, you know, running on essentially a 2D maze. You can actually jump up and down places. And it fits with the game, so I can see exactly why they did that. So over there, finally got the first usage out of the lockpicks there. Key picks in Japanese. Opening up the largest lock pad that I've seen outside of like a first-person shooter, where it's used to signify that you should shoot this lock pad. I mean, I do have a gun here. Could have gone all, what, that was appeared in RE4, I think was the first time that I really noticed them. Just shot that thing. Maybe. It's kind of hard to tell because these are fake guns shooting fake bullets. How much sound and light and everything that it actually makes. Does it, you know, complete the full package of realism, or is it just an illusion, much like the bullet that it's shooting out? Who knows? So I guess Morgana kind of has a version of the main character's third eye, at least according to this conversation. Kind of. Because, I mean, that's the way that you actually use this. Just mashing on L1. And then you get a very stoplight-esque assertion? I don't know. Of how tough enemies are. Let me tell you, unlike maybe any other difficulty in the game, seeing a red enemy is actually a really difficult thing. So yellow's the same level as you, blue is lower than you, and red is higher. And red pretty much spells death for me in a lot of ways. For example... that guy was a mini-boss for good reason before. And that remains true right now. Anyway, I don't really even know what the point of checking out how powerful an enemy is. It's not like you can really avoid fighting them a lot of the times here. In larger rooms, I suppose, but even then... I don't know, on hard mode, you just want to try to avoid fighting an enemy, period. It seems. Because it's just kind of a usage of the resources, which health might not be tremendously limited, but SP certainly is. Anyway, yes, we are seeing a battle for once, because this is a... I mean, this is that enemy that just totally destroyed me last time. This time I'm going to show a more successful version of that here. So yeah, the way that every single one of these battles goes is hopefully not that way, but basically using out every one of your elemental attacks, attempting a, you know, hitting them with a gun and everything, seeing what actually works, what they resist, what they reflect, drain, and of course, most importantly, are weak to. And then you... It's a really good thing that Joker managed to dodge that first hit. And then pretty much you just rinse and repeat every single time you see this enemy past this point. I'm very glad that I'm at least one rank with you here. Nah. Yep, I feel the same way there, Joker. It's like, wipe the sweat off your brow because that was... I mean, it was a serviceable battle. We won, didn't we? And isn't that the most important thing? Anyway, definitely want to avoid red enemies, at least for right now. When I get more Persona and I have... Oh yeah, I was just checking out the rose petals there. When I get more Persona and I have more general, like, attacks, can actually hit weaknesses more consistently, it'll be much easier to deal with higher level enemies because I'll be able to stun lock them into oblivion a lot of the time. But that's also always one of the most difficult issues you gotta deal with when it comes to early game here. The fact that you don't have attacks that hit multiple enemies, you don't have healing things that heal multiple times. Yeah, that was just because Anne has a much better gun here. Can hit multiple people at a time. That's kind of what I wanted to show off here, the whole baton pass deal. But yeah, much like in a lot of games, as soon as you're able to cover the field with every one of the abilities that you can possibly get, then the game becomes a lot easier. Hopefully. It is still hard mode after all. I mean, let's be honest, I am looking forward to how this is going to go a little bit later in the game, because I do like... Ultimately, a lot of the way that the sort of battles in these games go is that you're just kind of planning out exactly how you want to do stuff. It's 99% preparation and 1% execution against, like, bosses, mini-bosses, enemies in an individual area, everything like that. Making sure you have the right persona, making sure you have the right items to heal and buff and maybe even some attack stuff, because there are, like, things that are going to be very useful, especially in early game, like the ability to cast a wind spell on every enemy on the field. And by prepping up like that, you should be able to have most every single battle go in your favor, hopefully. Kind of forgot how many battles I kept in here, and why exactly I did that, if there even was a reason. Well, anyway, I suppose I wanted to show off at least a couple of them, especially new enemies that I haven't seen prior to this point, just because, you know, I still don't really have a good handle on the battle system if you've never seen it before. So I'm not going to be editing this one out just yet. And yeah, I could do negotiation, but hey, we on a timetable here. We only got 2 weeks until Kamoshida completely ruins my life, so gotta hurry this up. I do like that Morgana has dialogue for falling asleep. That, like, why even? It's even the point of that. You're asleep, how are you talking? Anyway. Yeah, still no discovery right now. It's 0% with the very threatening-looking Kamoshida in the upper left corner. It's gotta be something that happens later. There's gotta be a dungeon-specific whatever that will be raising that automatically. Maybe traps, maybe you know, it just automatically goes up when you're in the dungeon. I can see a lot of this sort of stuff, because otherwise, why would they introduce that at this point? A Snuff Soul. SP restoring items are rare, and they're very valuable, because more SP means more healing. More healing means longer time you can stay around in the dungeon. And there are, of course, some skills that will, like, you know, drain SP from enemies, or maybe every turn in battle, restore a little bit of SP. But for the most part, it is rough to try to get that stuff up. You're just going to want to leave most of the time. And, in fact, that's what I'm going to be doing here. Just because, hey, you saw the SP counts on that. I couldn't even stay in the dungeon for any longer. I've got to retreat. And I can imagine that most people playing this game for the first time probably didn't duck out at that particular safe room. So didn't really get too far here, at least for the first, I mean, as Morgana's saying right now. Oh yes, and of course I did want to put the dialogue in here, but there's actually a lot of things in the game right now that have different characters having different things to say. Like when I played the English version of the game, that was Anne talking about that. Well, you know, the Japanese version here obviously had Ryuji. Same sort of thing whenever you enter a safe room for the first time, it'll just randomly pick a character and they'll have something to say. So, I mean, yes, of course, I could make my own educated guesses on what exactly that means, but I feel like if you are actually playing along at home as far as the whole Japanese thing goes, you don't want to see what I'm guessing. You want to see what the official English version is. And if that means I'm going to miss a couple lines, that's just fine. Yes, 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 Sakura. I'm well aware at this point. Told you this once, I told you this a million times. Or at least like 5, literally, since you started the game. Yeah. And indeed, you do get jobs in these games. Usually a way to get another social link or two, depending on what exactly you're doing. Like Persona 4 had doing daycare so that you could get to know one of the children you were caring for's mother, which is, when I say it like that, sounds a lot more licentious than it actually is. Or like when you did tutoring for a kid. Ah, yes, real conversations that teenagers have. Real supportive friend talks that teenagers have. Yeah. I mean, anyway, it's just an introduction to the idea of reading books. Reading books is a way to up your skills. You know, the meta skills, not the actual, like, Persona ones. You do have your own specific version of visual novel stats that you up over time. Your guts, your intelligence, all of that. That can help you out when it comes to social link stuff, but, you know, don't really exist then when you get into a battle. Yeah, because every lady loves a huge nerd, you nerd. Okay, if you're asking that sort of question, I guess you're not that much of a nerd. At least not yet. Oh, you just wait. The more books you read, the more I think you might find the nerdiness was within you all along. And the real nerds were the friends we made along the way. Anyway, let's just go with, yeah, whatever. So, yeah, read for free at the school library. Here's the thing with these games. Money doesn't really make that much of a difference. For whatever reason, when it comes to plumbing the depths of the collective unconsciousness, you tend to get paid a lot for that. Maybe some sort of commentary on, like, psychiatry or something. Am I right? High five. So anyway, Hirota, otherwise known as the smuggest man alive, is the new teacher being introduced, after Ushimaru. And what's his deal? Oh, here's another great example of throwing in a name with a san at the end that does not appear in the Japanese version. They're fooling you, people. They're making you think that it's more, That it's more, like, literal translation than it actually is. He said nothing about a specific name. He just referred to a genericized accident. The sun was entirely fabricated for the English version. Anyway, this is some pretty severe editorializing. And this is also some pretty severely, bad guessing on my part. So, this diagram. Now, obviously, C connects to A. And I didn't know that at the time, but I thought this was some sort of trick question. Why did I think that? I don't know. It's because I don't understand Japanese very well, and I have to read this stuff on the fly as I'm playing the game. So, yes, I got it wrong. Yes, I understand how it's so... It's such an obvious question. But, hey, I got no excuse. Let's just say that. Yeah, Hirata. I know. Of course. Again, some pretty severe editorializing on somebody that's supposed to be teaching me here. And of course, the horrible rumor demons that is the student body do not take kindly to this. Not that they take kindly to anything that I get. Ah, I hate these generic faceless students. But yeah, I could probably get a little bit of an intelligence increase there, but it's really more to just protect the main character's pride than really worrying too much about getting those stats up. It's sort of just a minor bonus thing. Yeah, you think? I mean, I'm waiting for the day that in one of these classes you just, it's like, hey, this person is Carl Jung. Let's learn about some of his ideas on psychology, and then just the main character's head explodes. Yes, I am in class right now, and we are going to be going back into the dungeon. Yeah, I do think that this is the first chance that I could have had at maybe doing a little bit of social linking. Decided not to. Look, there's plenty of time to do that. I wanted to get to some more dungeon crawling right now. I had to bail out of the dungeon at a pretty embarrassing point, so I am more than willing to head right back in there. Of course, Ryuji, maybe not as keen on the whole subject. Yeah. I'm well aware. I mean, you are... He's out of shape. Hasn't been in any sort of life or death battles in a while, so nerves are getting to him. Wants to back down from maybe this whole, like, revenge-taking thing, but, you know, too bad. We're doing it. Yeah, every single one of your party members always has a social link associated with them, and I'm going to be trying to get as many as possible throughout the course of this. I mean, not even just for the whole trying to get as much text out of the game as possible, but also because, hey, usually it's kind of fun to... well, I mean, first off, they get power-ups within the dungeon just by leveling up their social link, but also, hey, it's kind of fun to plumb the depths of each one of these social links here. It's not all about dungeon crawling, even though I do like the dungeon crawling a lot more than anything else in the game, or any of these games. Hey, Megami Tensei games do have some quality dungeon crawling in them. At least compared to a lot of other turn-based RPGs, let me tell you. Which, I mean, I don't even know how many I could possibly name that still exist these days. That should kind of speak a little bit to the quality. Or maybe just a little bit to how they were able to save themselves with the whole visual novel aspect. I don't know. There's many different ways you can look at it. Yeah, Morgana talking there is different than what I had in the English version, so... I do like the mix-up of a bunch of different dialogue lines. It just only makes it tough for people like me. You know, the maniacs who are trying to do who are trying to use the game in a not at all approved way. Yep. Oh man, I I don't even know, man. But there we go. Nope. Almost. Keep trying. And there we go. Oh boy. Of all those splash screens that you get for beating an enemy with an all-out attack, I think I like Morgana's the best. Just because it is, well, first off, I don't even know where... Have I shown that one yet? I don't even know. But I don't know where Morgana got that cigar, but I'm pretty sure that he's probably not old enough to be able to smoke. That was something I had pointed out last time, that the way Morgana's act... I just assumed that Morgana was an old man, like basically a big old like D&D nerd. Oh, I'm taking a look at the roast beast there because I was kind of interested in like, what is that supposed to be? And I guess roast beast is kind of the best way to put it. But like, yeah, I was thinking that Morgana was supposed to be some sort of like a big old D&D nerd, a real Gary Gygax type of character. Because, you know, he's super obsessed. Don Quixote, the Man of La Mancha sort of thing, where he's obsessed with being chivalrous and loyal and fulfilling the code of honor as put forth by thieves, when I think that you're really supposed to look at him as being childish, like a kid who's playing pretend. And I mean, I guess it just goes to show how many nerds I know versus how many kids I know. Why I would immediately go to, oh, this guy is just somebody who's really into LARPing. Here we get introduced to the death from above mechanic. Now, doing that a lot in Sekiro, gonna be doing that a lot in Persona now, too. Hey, I mean, if you got the whole, like, X, Y, and Z mechanic, I assume that you are going to be above enemies most of the time. And if there's any sort of game, I mean, from Uncharted to Sekiro to now Persona, you're going to have different abilities that let you do stuff with that. And oh yes, this fight is also the introduction of an enemy pleading for its life, except it's also one of those things that I couldn't really get consistent dialogue with compared to the Japanese versus the English version, so let's just skip right past it. I know. I'm sure there's a pretty large contingent of the people that want to see it, but I think that overall the series is going to be better if I don't show every single battle that I go through. I'll show a select few. If something particularly interesting happens, or it's a very difficult one. Every boss, for example, is going to get shown. But aside from that, it's like, still have a couple... Yeah, the whole, like, lock door thing is kind of interesting. Getting shortcuts and everything through here. I don't know how consistent the dungeons are going to be from this point on. If the first one here is going to be really consistent, you know, carefully crafted and everything like that, and everything else is going to be generated, because that's how it's been for every other part of the series up until this point. But I suppose we'll just have to see how that works out. Because it could just be that every one of these dungeons is a planned out dungeon. To be honest, that's kind of how I prefer it, because random generation tends to lead to maybe not as fun stuff as something very carefully curated and designed. And I don't like that at all. Well, if there was a battle to oh, come on. I don't know why I'm struggling so much with the cover mechanic, but what can I say? I'm struggling a lot with the cover mechanic. Yeah, if there was a battle to show, it's this one. So, last time, I got destroyed on an absolutely embarrassing level. This time, I'm just running away. Because it's not only just the Barith that's here, it's also the second enemy that I forgot the name of. And if you hit an enemy that with an attack twice in a row to make them weak, usually what it does is it knocks them unconscious, and then they have to waste a turn getting back up. But as you can see right now, not actually the case in Persona 5. There's also stuff like technicals, where if you have an enemy that's sleeping or stunned or anything like that, I guess you get an auto-critical on them, which is frightening. But like, yeah, no, we're out of here. Because I know that right around the corner is a safe room, and I'm not dealing with this. I mean, they're doing like 200 damage. I have like 150 health right now, I think. It's like, that just isn't happening. Then I got totally turned upside down by that battle, so I couldn't even tell where to go. However, that's at least the first part of the game done. That's at least the first part of this dungeon done here. Next time, I'm going to be tackling an actual mini-boss and hopefully getting somewhere for real.